All right, everybody, get ready. We are breaking down one of the fiercest rivalries in college football. Florida versus Georgia.
And, it's always a huge one, but this year...
This year is going to be something else.
It really is, I think.
I'm ready to lay it on me. What's got you so hyped for this matchup?
Well, first of all, you got to think about the history, the tradition.
Oh, yeah.
It's been going on for over a century, almost every game since 1933 in Jacksonville.
The world's largest outdoor cocktail party.
There you go.
Hmm?
You know what it is just from the name. And this year...
This year, there's even more to it, right?
Yeah, we got number 2... Georgia, they're sitting at 6-1. They are rolling. And then there's Florida, a respectable 4-3. But
there's a big but.
But Florida's starting quarterback, Graham Mertz, he's out with an ACL injury.
Ouch, that's gotta hurt. So who are they putting in?
Freshman D.J. Lagway.
Oh, wow. Talk about a trial by fire.
Talk about pressure right out of the gate. And remember Georgia's defensive line? They just demolished Texas.
That doesn't sound good for young Lagway. 5 touchdowns this season, but also 5 interceptions against that defense.
Well, that's the question, isn't it? Can he handle the pressure? Can he avoid those mistakes? Because
those mistakes against Georgia, it can be killer.
Absolutely killer. And we've got to talk about the injuries.
Oh, yeah. Injuries are always a factor, especially in a game like this.
Right. So Florida, their star running back, Montrell Johnson, he's questionable with a leg injury.
He's such a crucial part of their offense. If he's out.
Big blow for Florida. But on the other hand, Georgia might be getting their offensive guard Tate Ratledge back.
So that could help their run game, which is already pretty formidable.
It could be a huge boost. But there are 2 more names on the injury report. Georgia running backs, Roderick Robinson and Branson Robinson, both dealing with injuries.
Oh, wow. So Georgia's running back depth could be a problem.
It could be a problem for them. Could be an opportunity for Florida.
So even with Georgia being such a heavy favorite, are you sensing...
I'm sensing it.
I knew it.
But Georgia still has Trevor Etienne. He could have a monster game, especially if those other guys are out.
All right, so Georgia's got some injury concerns, but they've still got some serious firepower. So how are the experts seeing this one?
Well, most of them are predicting a Georgia win probably by a comfortable margin, something like 30-14.
So a Bulldog blowout is what they're thinking.
Right.
But come on. You know how these rivalry games go.
You never know. Records can go out the window. Anything can happen.
And Florida's been defying expectations lately, haven't they?
They have. They've covered the spread in their last 4 games, even won 3 outright. Georgia, on the other hand, only 2-5 against the spread this season against FBS teams.
Hold on, wait a second. Are you saying that Georgia, they're the favorites, but they haven't been covering the spread consistently?
That's exactly what I'm saying, and that's what makes this game so interesting.
Okay, so you've got a dominant Georgia team, but they've been slipping up against the spread. And then you've got a Florida team that's been playing above expectations, but with a freshman quarterback in the biggest game of his life.
It's a recipe for a wild one.
All right, before we dive into those predictions and really break down the odds...
So let's get into those betting lines. Georgia's a 16-point favorite.
16 points.
Wow. That's more than 2 touchdowns they're expected to win by. And the money line, if you're feeling really confident in the dogs, minus 850.
Okay, minus 850 for those of us who aren't, professional gamblers. What does that mean?
Basically, you'd have to bet $850 to win $100 if Georgia wins.
So not exactly a great return.
Not really. But hey, the over-under, that's set at 52 points.
So are we thinking shootout or defensive battle?
That's the question, isn't it? Do you go over or under? But you know what I find really interesting?
What's that?
Georgia, yeah, they're the favorites, but remember what we were talking about earlier, they haven't been covering the spread consistently.
So maybe there's some value in taking Florida and those 16 points.
Potentially Florida. They've been the underdog all season. They've been playing with that chip on their shoulder.
And Georgia, they've had some hiccups on offense, haven't they?
Definitely some inconsistencies, especially in the passing game.
So you're saying Florida's defense could make things interesting?
They could, if they can capitalize on those mistakes, those missed opportunities. But let's talk about the quarterback.
Oh, yeah. The quarterback matchup is always key.
It is. So for Florida, you got D.J. Lagway
against the number 2 team in the country.
In one of the most intense rivalry games in college football.
Talk about pressure.
Yeah, he's got to be feeling it. And then you look at that Georgia defense, that defensive line, it's a nightmare for opposing quarterbacks.
Led by mention a few key Georgia defensive players.
Exactly. They are ferocious. So Lagway, he's going to have to make quick decisions, avoid those turnovers, and hope he can connect with some of his playmakers.
Who should we be watching on that Florida offense?
They could be the key.
Okay, so Florida's chances really hinging on Lagway having a breakout. But what about Georgia? What's their offensive strategy going to look like?
I think we're going to see a lot of Trevor Etienne.
Yeah, especially with those other running backs banged up.
Exactly. Control the clock, wear down that Florida defense, make things a little easier for their quarterback.
And speaking of Georgia's quarterback, it's been a bit of a mixed bag this season, hasn't it?
Yeah, there have been some ups and downs, but they still have the potential to put up points.
All right, so we've got a potential quarterback duel, a freshman versus, a more seasoned veteran.
It's going to be fun to watch. And don't forget about special teams.
Oh, yeah. Special teams always a factor in these close games.
Absolutely. Field position turnovers, big returns, those can swing the momentum in a heartbeat.
And, of course, we can't forget the atmosphere in Jacksonville.
The world's largest outdoor cocktail party.
It's going to be electric.
Always is. It's one of the best atmospheres in college football.
Okay, so we've talked about the matchups, the predictions, but what's really at stake for these two teams?
For Georgia, a win keeps those national championship hopes alive.
They got to keep winning to impress the playoff committee.
Exactly. A loss would be a huge blow.
Mm-hmm.
For Florida, it's different. They're not in the national championship picture this year.
But a win over Georgia would be huge.
And monumental. It would be a statement win.
And even a close game would show that they're on the right track.
Absolutely. It would show that they can compete with the best.
So we've got the matchups, the predictions, the implications, but what's your gut feeling about this one?
On paper, Georgia's the better team, but this is a rivalry game.
Anything can happen.
Exactly. That's why we love these games. So here's what I'm watching for.
All right, I'm listening.
Can DJ Lagway rise to the occasion? Can he handle the pressure, the spotlight, the magnitude of this game? That's the big question.
There's a lot to ask of a freshman quarterback, but hey, if
Oh,
he pulls it off.
Then we might have a real upset on our hands.
And what about Georgia? What should we be watching for from them?
Can they avoid complacency? Can they stay focused and execute their game plan? Or will they let Florida hang around and make things interesting?
So basically, we've got youth versus experience, underdog versus favorite.
Hope versus expectation.
Sounds like the perfect recipe for a thrilling game. Now let's go beyond the X's and O's. So what are the national pundits saying about this Florida-Georgia matchup?
Pretty much what you'd expect. Most of them are picking Georgia to win and win big. They look at Georgia's recent dominance, their talent, the experience.
The whole question mark at quarterback for Florida.
Exactly. But there are a few out there who are giving Florida a fighting chance.
Really?
Yeah. They point to Florida's ability to exceed expectations this season, covering spreads, pulling off upsets. They say you can't count them out, especially in a rivalry game.
So maybe a little glimmer of hope for those Gator fans.
Hope springs eternal, right? But even those analysts who are giving Florida a chance, they're saying it's going to take a near-perfect game. Forced turnovers, hope for some Georgia mistakes.
It's a tall order.
It is.
Yeah.
But hey, stranger things have happened, right?
That's why we love these rivalry games. So beyond the predictions, what is it about this rivalry that makes it so special?
It's more than just a game. It's a whole event. The world's largest outdoor cocktail party.
It's a spectacle.
It is. Fans from both sides, they take over Jacksonville. It's a celebration of Southern football, the tradition, the pageantry.
And the game itself, it usually lives up to the hype.
Oh, yeah. We've seen some incredible moments over the years. Last-second finishes, controversial calls, legendary performances. It's the kind of rivalry that creates stories you'll be talking about for years to come.
So as we get ready for this one, what's the one thing you want our listeners to keep in mind?
I think this game hinges on DJ Lagway. Can he handle the pressure, the intensity? Can he make enough plays to keep Florida in it?
It's a huge test for the young quarterback.
It is. If he steps up, we could have a classic on our hands.
And for Georgia, it's all about avoiding that upset, staying focused, proving they're the better team.
Well said. All right, so we've talked about the history, the matchups, the predictions, everything you need to know about this rivalry.
Now it's time to sit back, relax, grab some snacks, and enjoy the game.
That's right. It's going to be a good one.
Buckle up, everyone. It's going to be a wild ride, and may the best team win.